Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name is Josh Albrecht, and with me is my good friend, John Taylor. Hi, John. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, Josh. You just kind of tipped it off in our fake little intro we do every episode, but happy 50th episode.
Yeah, 50 of these. Kind of
Yeah,
crazy to think about.
honestly, it's been a great 50 episodes. What do you think about just radically changing the format going
That's
forward?
not a bad idea, and there might be an opportunity to do just that. So let's just get into it right away. First of all, apologizing that we've been a little spotty with the recording. There's been things going on, mostly on my end here. I am back in radio, so I am back on air. Thank you. I am on 1250 WSSP and 1057 FM, The Fan, Milwaukee, and you can download that on the Odyssey app and even listen to it in Portland if you want. And it's been a lot of fun. And I brought up to them, hey, I do this podcast as well. It's called Don't Tell Me How to Fan. And they were aware of that. They knew that we had a podcast, and they said, yeah, do you want to bring the podcast with you? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so the next time that we are doing the podcast, we'll still be doing it here. It'll still be on YouTube. It'll still be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but you'll also be able to hear it. The plan is right now, Saturday mornings. We can get it a more exact time, and that time might fluctuate a little bit, but Saturday mornings on the Odyssey app and 1250 WSSP and 1057 FM, The Fan.
Pretty cool.
Getting radiofied over here.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Yeah. And because of that, it just means we're just going to probably end up taking a little more time off and officially relaunching at the start of November. We don't typically dive into our personal lives so much. We usually hit the ground running on sports, but this is a big deal. Your toe dip back into the radio is very exciting. I'm taking my honeymoon 3 years late, but I'm taking 2 weeks off in Japan. I'm very much looking forward to it. Hopefully the Brewers, I don't remember the schedule. I'm hoping they have won the World Series by then.
Me too. I'm hoping by then they will.
I don't know. I don't think that's how scheduling works. I
don't think so either.
I
would really love it if they did.
I would love to be in Osaka celebrating a Brewers World Series.
Where else would you rather be?
I can't think of any other place.
World Series. So just know though, before when we relaunch, which as John said, it'll be in a little bit, but when we do, the format will be a little bit different because we're going to be doing the pod, and then I'll do editing, but it might seem a little bit choppy on this end because we're going to cut it up to then be on the radio as well. So it'll just be essentially the podcast cut up into 3 segments. So if you're like, whoa, what's going on? That's why. But I'm very happy, very excited to be back. It has been, it's like riding a bike, but there are parts of it to where you're like, oh, I forgot about this part of riding a bike.
Yeah, what's the hardest part about getting on the old bike?
Definitely the hours, man.
Yeah, of course.
It's been crazy getting up at 3:45 again. Like. Yeah. When you let me tell you, you can get up every day at 3:45 for 6 years, and then you take like a year off, like I did from getting up at 3:45. You start that up again. It's awful. It's like completely starting over. My body's so not used to it.
Yeah,
it's insane. And some people are always like, "Well, you just got to take a nap." No. If you take a nap, then you're up until midnight and you still have to get up at 3:45. Then you're not napping, you're just sleeping twice for 3 hours at a time. Doesn't work that way, at least not for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we've known each other for a very long time. Famously not a light or easy sleeper to wake up. So
yes.
when you're like, I'm on the radio, even 6 years ago being like, I'm on the radio, I have to be up at 3:45 a.m. I was like, how does that work? How did that work?
How are you gonna do that?
Besides Julie probably just beating you up while your alarm is going off.
She does look at it as an opportunity to physically abuse me. But for the most part, it is just like a lot of alarms. Yeah. It's just like 10 alarms. I only had one time when I was on the air before where I missed the alarm. My phone had like an update And when it did the update, it never turned back on. And so I woke up at like 6:45 in a panic. And Armin, who was at who I used to work with, I don't know how, but they got Armin up. Armin answered his phone and they dragged him in. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And he was like, it's okay. We all just thought you were dead. We thought you were dead. And I was like, I'm not dead. I'm here. I'm sorry. But that was the only time. And I told myself, I was like, based on this, I'm getting an old school alarm. I'm going to have like an alarm that is like plugged in with battery backup, and there'll be no way. That never happened. Just keep using my phone like a normal millennial.
It's so convenient.
Yeah.
I'm the exact opposite of you. I'm a one alarm and done. My entire life, I could get 3 hours of sleep and my brain just immediately fires and is pragmatic. I'll wake up after 3 hours of sleep and just be like, I'm so tired. And my brain's immediately like, you did this to yourself, wake up. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm talking to myself, but I'm just like, yeah, I'm miserable. This is what happens. So
my subconscious is like, no. We can go back to sleep.
Yeah.
We can get this done.
Who needs to pursue a passion?
You can sleeping it away is way better. No, but it's been great. It's been fun. The first week back, I was floored by all the people who sent messages and texted in and just said like, welcome back. And, people that were listening on the old station that, made that switch and were listening like from day one. I was like, oh my gosh. And it was kind of like when you go back to school and you hadn't seen a bunch of friends over the summer.
Yeah.
And, it was like I saw these names come up on the talking text line that I used to talk to every day. I used to respond to their texts, and it was like, oh my gosh, Josie, how are you? And oh, it's Curtin, Washington. Oh my gosh. Whatever it was.
You're like, I didn't know you were taking Mr. Schmitz's chemistry class.
It's
exactly. Like that kind of fun. Like,
oh,
I didn't think you'd see me here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Selfishly, and I, this is very much a celebration of your position. I'm very excited for you, but famously at 1250, the fan person, when I lived in Milwaukee, I listened to that religiously. So when you were at the game, I was always like, actually, I think I moved before you got on the radio, but there was a part of me that was like, who are these people? Why would I ever want to listen to their sports take when I got the big show with Gary Ellerson, Sparky and, all that kind of stuff. So it's a fun full circle moment for me, because I was a big sports radio fan in Wisconsin. Like if I was driving around, and this was predates podcast, because I like only listen to podcasts now, but driving around, it's like, I love music, but I was just like, I'd rather learn something or engage in like a hobby that I'm like passionate about, so.
And
so
now,
it's very, very, very cool.
And now your voice is going to be heard.
Yeah.
On that radio station.
Yeah, so feel free to just flood the talk and text line. Actually, honestly, I'm not on a radio show. Keep the criticisms of me to yourselves, okay? All right, I am an amateur.
No. That's not part of the gig. You can still get them here though. You can comment all of your hateful things here.
Really let me have it.
You can tweet at them. There's plenty of ways to do it.
Yeah. If I ever am too successfully talking Josh off a ledge, let me know. Let me know. Yeah.
Well, good luck. You're gonna need to do that now. No, but anyway, before we get into it, just very excited and very grateful to be back.
Yeah. Congrats, bud.
Thanks. All right, so that was the good news. All right, now here's the bad news. The bad news is that at the time of this recording, maybe an hour and a half before the timing of this recording, the Chicago Cubs won the National League Wild Card Series that they were in against the San Diego Padres, which means for the first time ever, the Brewers and Cubs are going to face each other in postseason battle. A few things. First, I didn't know it was the first time.
Do they not call? They're not counting that wild card playing game? No, I guess they wouldn't.
Game 163.
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't. But that was a playoff game. I mean,
it was a play-in game.
Right. True.
But I think they counted that as a regular season, like total
tie-breaking game.
Yeah,
that makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah.
Wow.
But would have really preferred that it wasn't the Cubs. And I've had, the amount of people who have questioned my fandom and tried to tell me how to fan.
I can't believe it. The radio, people on the radio are telling you what to think about our sports teams.
It is insane how many people want to tell me how to fan. And the amount of times that I've had to bring up this podcast and say, don't tell me how to fan. and explain, someone's like, where'd you come up, Trevor, the guy I do the show with, where'd you come up with that, and tell the whole story. And it's not that I don't believe that the Brewers can get it done. I absolutely do. I also know that there's a chance that they could come out cold as hell and get swept or lose in 4 or 5 or however many. And I don't want to do that to the Cubs. It's all about the possibilities, right? And so I go through this all the time. John, I remember when we started this, I had to more clearly explain like my vision as a realist in comparison to a pessimist. And I'm sitting here. So we did this prediction, right, of going from wild card to World Series. And I said that I thought the Cubs were going to beat the Padres and then the Brewers were going to beat the Cubs. Then they were going to lose to the Phillies. That's how I had it going. I said, we're going to have such a high after beating the Cubs, and then we're just going to get crushed. I don't even know if that's going to happen based on the way the Dodgers are playing. The Phillies should be a little bit scared. But leading up to it, I said that. And then people were like, well, you're just already counting the Brewers out because I didn't want to play the Cubs. And I'm like, I literally said that the Brewers are going to beat the Cubs. I just hate that they have to play the Cubs. I would have preferred that I was wrong.
Yes.
And in my prediction, and that the Brewers were going to beat the Padres.
Yeah.
Because the Cubs suck.
On paper, the Cubs match up really well against the Brewers. That's the issue. You know what I mean? They are dealing with some injuries, I think I don't know. I go back and forth. I think ultimately not having to face the Dodgers in the NLDS is the best case scenario. So congratulations to the Brewers. As fans, we can be excited. We finally passed the wild card round. We did it. So that's worth celebrating. But when I look at the Cubs or the Padres, neither feel great to me. They're both teams that kind of meet the Brewers, match a lot of the things the Brewers do well. And at the end of the day, they just have bigger bats and just like a little bit more firepower up and down the lineup, especially when you look at some of the injuries. And the Brewers are getting a lot of guys back. I mean, the other big thing, it's tough to want to make a prediction right now because I have no idea what the playoff roster is going to be. And that's a whole other can of worms that we'll dive into, maybe we won't. But I wanted the Padres simply because, and this is a very obvious fact, there's going to be so many Cubs fans at AmFam for this series. And I encourage anybody who has season tickets to hold on to them. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to watch the best team in baseball, your Milwaukee Brewers, with their franchise-setting wins in a regular season at 97, play baseball. Resist the urge as much as you can. But here's the thing I know about people in Milwaukee. Selling these tickets to a Cubs fan is going to pay for the next 2, maybe 3 years of season tickets. And at the end of the day, Milwaukee, as much as I love you, it's real blue collar and people need money. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like they're not throwing around the same type of coin that people in Chicago are. So I'm not looking forward to that. Simply put, I wanted the Padres to win just because I want to see more Brewers fans in attendance than Cubs fans. And I don't want to hear, let's go Brewers, let's go Cubs, sound pretty damn even. And that's what these series are going to be. My only other counter is get some tickets to Wrigley, mortgage your house, be a
Cubs fan from Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Go down, be like them.
Poison a relative that is leaving you a lot of money. The time is now. Okay. Get that trust, cash in that 401k.
Now is the time.
Down there. Now is the time. But there's a lot of guys getting healthy. Trevor McGill looked great in his inning that he threw out. That's going to be a huge thing. Abner is, because it's not saves and it's holds. I mean, he is still pitching lights out. I think the fact that they're going to move Mizorowski to the bullpen, I think that is a guy who in a game 3, which is probably when they're going to look to probably do a long like bullpen relief game, he can come in and shut down an inning. You know what I mean? If he's looking good and pitching right. So I still think the Brewers are the best team in baseball. And I am not prepared to be scared about certain matchups because the Brewers have shown they can find ways to win against everybody. They swept the Dodgers, who beat the dog piss out of the Reds in the only series not to go 3 games, which is also crazy, by the way. They swept them.
But here's my counter to that.
Yeah.
Tell me that didn't look like a way different Dodgers team.
Sure, we caught them at their lowest point. I get that 100%.
I mean, I just think there's something about athletes that are Hall of Fame bound, like the majority of that team is.
Right.
That, I mean, you see it every year, like with LeBron and some of these other guys in the NBA, that it's just like they go from being meh in the regular season, and then when it comes to the playoffs, they just can flip this switch and put up insane numbers. And that's what we saw from the Dodgers. And it was like, yeah, this team wasn't there all season long, but they're here now.
Well, my counter to your counter, so this is that counter, is that the Reds got really hot and they scratched and clawed to barely make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And, true. That is a very different team. That is a team that I've seen the Brewers be at least 2 of the last, 4 playoff appearances. That team that kind of rode the tank on fumes and just got to the dance, and then they didn't have anything left. So the fact they got a week off, the scrimmages look fun. I mean, William Contreras put out a Players Tribune piece that, if it didn't, put a tear in your eye, I don't know what will. Man, he is all in. I think this team is like very aware of the history that they can make. You talk about euchre magic, whether stupid letter aside. This team is playing. It has like a big sense of purpose, and I think these guys are refreshed as much as they can be and ready to go. So I'm really, really excited. I think like the fact that our divisional series is against a NL Central opponent, I think that's awesome. I mean, really, when you talk about how do you plan for this, like the Brewers plan to beat the Cubs every year. It's it's in every sport. You build a team to beat the teams in your division, and then you see what happens. And that's what this team is going to need to do. And frankly, if you're talking about getting your guys up for a big game, I trust Pat Murphy a hell of a lot more than I trust, Craig Counsell, old droopy Gus guy. He's just, I forget his name. Anyways, the cartoon. You get it.
No, isn't it Droopy?
It's Droopy Dog. I said Gus for some reason. Yeah,
I was like, well, I didn't know about the Gus, but Droopy was right.
No,
you're right. You're right. And listen, the fact that this team won 97 games, I think, it was huge. I think getting that last win was monumental to them. And I know that some people might not look at it and blah blah blah, but making sure that you didn't finish the regular season on like a 4 or 5 game losing streak, and even if they were had their foot off the gas a little bit, and making sure that they ended the season at home with a win, securing the best season that in Brewers history, regular season Brewers history. I think all of that was very, very important from a morale standpoint going into the postseason. I also think it's a little crazy that fans and just people in general don't think that stuff matters. Like, these are still human beings. They have brains that think things. They have psyches. They're not robots, right? Like any of this stuff, any outside things can have an impact on what happens on the field. And so I think that was huge for the team. It kind of got the team where it should be, back in the right mindset going into this break. And now I'm just hoping that, the Cubs are at the very least a little tired. I mean, they didn't even I don't even think they really had to burn through that much bullpen and whatever today in their game against the Padres. It wasn't really close. But that's, now we're here. Mm-hmm. Whether I like it or not, now we're here. Now it's time to stop crying about it and go, because there's no other option. We're playing the Cubs. The Cubs fans are coming. They're going to be obnoxious. They're going to be trash. And we just got to be louder, cheer on the crew, and hope that the crew comes through.
Question for you, Josh.
Yes.
And this is going to be a new fun thing I do, where I'm just going to crowdsource your audience's opinion. Has there been conversation about who the third Game 3 starter is going to be?
No.
Has that been okay? Because that is a very big question mark.
Yes,
and
I don't feel like we've gotten there yet. I think that we will once the lineup, the entire rosters, we get to analyze that, and they see the times of the games and starting pitchers, probable pitchers, and they put that type of stuff out. I think at this point it was more just focusing on that wild card series, and a lot of fans just debating who they wanted to win, and also if it mattered. And God, that was one of the big things this week that I had to deal with, was the amount of people saying like champions fear no one. It doesn't matter who comes to. I hate that. I hate that so much. That's not how it works. You have to play against other teams. The other team, there's definitely luck involved in any of this. Any playoff postseason run, there is luck and matchups and things involved. And so, that was a lot of where the focus was. And I know that starting tomorrow morning, all of that changes.
Yeah.
Because now we know. Now we know we're playing the Cubs. It's time to get into the nitty-gritty and then go to work.
Yeah, so right now the Yankees are up 4-0 on the Red Sox. Schlitter is absolutely dealing. If the Yankees win that series, it means the Brewers Cubs is going to be Saturday morning, which means we're going to have the playoff roster announced pretty early, because the whole playoff roster is due your first game of the playoff series. So that'll be probably where we're actually able to get some of these big question marks answered. I mean, they're going to have 14 pitchers and 16 players, I think. Or no, it's 16 pitchers, 14 players. And you can kind of go through, and like Kurt Hogue of the Journal Sentinel, he does like a pretty serious roster prediction, and he's very plugged in, and I very much respect his baseball takes.
Adam McCallum, I think, did one too.
Yeah. So it's like you can get pretty close. So there's some like marginal things that'll be interesting. I've heard conversations where people say, is there a chance the Miz doesn't even make the playoff roster because he's been so volatile? I think you'd be it's a little short-sighted, even if you wanted to do a win now move, to keep somebody who you believe could be a key piece moving forward outside of such a momentous occasion when you called him up in June and he played the rest of the season. And his returns were clearly not nearly as exciting. They would have loved to have been able to keep him as a starter, but he's never pitched this much in his entire life. So it's like some of this is to be expected. But the real big question I have is like, does Rhys Hoskins even make this playoff roster?
Really,
and that is like an actual question. Because,
I would say no.
I mean, if you're talking about keeping somebody like Blake Perkins or Isaac Collins, and these are those things. A guy who should or was in very serious rookie of the year contention talks could find himself on the outside if they think his bat is more consistent or more meaningful. And honestly, Jake Bowers has some outfield experience, and Rhys is just like, I'm going to play first or I'm going to play DH. So it's like you start looking at some of the flexibility. And it's like they could get really cute and do some things that would really piss me off. Akin to like we brought Jesse Winker back for the playoffs and he didn't do anything and we got bounced off of his, some plate appearances. That whole team that year did not produce when they needed to, but he wasn't the secret sauce. So there's some big questions there. Obviously the pitching rotation shortened, and obviously it's always usually talking about the first three guys because it's like a big conversations. My guess is that it's Quintana. I think they're just going to lean on a veteran. He pitched really well when he was a Met last year against us. When by and large they were saying, his season was average. I think he had a better season this year with the Brewers because our pitching lab is elite. And I think like all things, like all the pitchers were pitching so well, and then some of them returned back to earth a little bit. And I think Quintana's one of them, but it's a guy who pitches for contact, and our defense is great. So it makes sense, but I'm definitely curious. I think obviously Woodruff is not in the picture, which is like heartbreaking. We haven't really talked about that, but it's like, it is what it is.
Even though they haven't announced it yet.
Yeah. I mean, he's not coming back for this. I mean, if he did, it'd be incredible. I just don't see it.
No.
But it's an easy, Freddie's going to be game one.
Number one.
Yep. Quentin Priester is game two. And honestly, I think like whether Woodruff was healthy or not, like Woodruff would have gotten it, but I would make a stronger case that if you want to try to lock down the first two games, like it should be Priester.
I think Woodruff might have gotten it in that third game. I could have seen them doing that.
Yeah. Just like big moment. you know what I mean? Like pivotal. Yeah. So, cause it's a 5-game series, right? I always forget how
best of
we
5.
haven't gotten there in so long. I don't
Yeah.
remember,
Well,
6 years is a long time to forget the format.
And here's the other thing I'm thinking too, is that, they don't have to put out probable starters for game 3 before game 1. I wouldn't be surprised if they make that decision based on how the first 2 games have gone.
Yeah.
If the Brewers are down 0-2 going to Chicago, I don't know if they're going to go as easy and whatever as if they're up 2-0, and it might be like, all right, bullpen game. Let's just like try stringing some together to give a starter, Freddie, someone else to see if they can go in game 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see a game where you're talking about like DL Hall, because DL Hall and Priester were splitting time. And I remember, I think I look back more fondly on those, and maybe it's because Priester was the one coming in the second half and just like closing the door. But they had like 2 or 3 games in a row where like they were pitching the full 9 innings between the two of them, and it was very competent pitching. And I was re-looking at his stats, and I was like, the season doesn't look as favorable, but in those situations, I really trust DL Hall in like a long relief. Obviously, Murph has shown that he is very keen on Ashby. Ashby's going to get like 3 innings in every game, no matter what. And you got Mears back, and then obviously Jared Koenig's been pitching awesome. Abner Uribe has been awesome. Trevor McGill, you hope can return back to being awesome because he was really great. So it's like the bullpen is roughed up too. However, the top guys are back, and it's like, this is what you hold them for.
They're back. So, hopefully they perform like they're back. Like that's the other thing too, is that you got to remember, like when you're coming back from an injury, right? It's always a question mark until you see someone go out there. Usually we say in their second start, and seeing like, all right, this is their second time back from injury. Now you have a pretty good gauge on how they are and with bouncing back. You don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that now. It's just we got to go. And so, I still sit here and am looking at it, especially with postseason baseball. And it's funny when you watch the wild card series because you really kind of get a refresher and reminded how much different postseason baseball is from regular season baseball. I mean, it is lights out, lights out, lights out, lights out. One mistake taking advantage of, and that is the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, literally right now, the Yankees scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 4th. It has been zeros in every frame besides the bottom of the 4th in that entire game. And that's how it's been in essentially every game except for the Dodgers and Reds. Besides that, it's been nothing, nothing, nothing. There's your one shot. Did you get it or not? Yeah. And the Padres aren't moving on because they didn't take advantage of the times when they had guys on base.
Yeah, they definitely had runners in scoring position and they just could not get them advanced over.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what's funny. And that's the other interesting thing. It is so funny watching a lot of these teams just like play big, like just play for the long ball. Just like really bad at base running. Like even the Yankees have been bad at it all year, but I watched somebody hit a ground like a deep fly ball out, and somebody threw it in with a little more purpose, and the guy at second almost got tagged because he was just strolling back to the base. And I was like, not on this Brewers team. That would never happen, And it's like that's the kind of stuff that I'm actually really excited about. Is we talk about the fundamentals and how it translates to winning, but in these moments, you can find I feel like you can find more opportunities to create value if you're doing the little things well consistently, and the Brewers shown that they can do those on an elite level. I'm very excited. I'm for a million different reasons. I'm very excited, but I was not expecting to be so excited to see how this Brewers team will match up against all of these teams that are kind of assembling rosters in the same way. But you're right. The pitching got hit at the wrong time. Playoffs are a great reminder where it's like you get a 1-run lead. Guess what? You throw 4 innings, and I'm bringing one guy in. You have to shut this inning down. It starts feeling like an all-star game. It's like, this is your inning. Go shut it down. Here's the next guy. Go shut it down. Yes. And because it's the playoffs, it's like you're going to do this the next 4 days in a row, or next 2, next 3, whatever the series length is. So
correct. That's exactly the right mentality on how to look at it, or at least what I think we're going to see. But no, it's honestly when I woke up this morning and I knew what I wanted to happen before I went to bed that night, it's been the opposite.
Yeah.
I was hoping the Padres would have won. I was hoping that the Red Sox would have won. That it would have
Guardians.
been a night game, and instead it's Cubs in a day game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Woo!
All right. Well, here we go.
Yeah.
So again, none of it matters if they find a way to win.
Yeah.
You know, who they're playing against, when they're playing, none of it matters if the Brewers have more runs than the opposing team at the end of the game. So let's just hope that that's how it goes. And at this point now, we just have, which is kind of freaky, but we have just tomorrow. You know, tomorrow is Friday, and then Saturday morning we're playing baseball. So we literally, as Brewers fans, we have tomorrow 24 hours to put together our feelings and our emotions and our game plans as fans of what we think is going to happen, what we want to happen, what we want the Brewers to do, to get information from the Brewers on who's going to be there, who's not. It's all going to happen really, really fast, which is kind of crazy after we just spent 4 or 5 days sitting around doing nothing.
Hey, the guys were doing simulated games, you know?
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Did you have a feeling or opinion on the fact that they didn't do what the other teams did with like allowing fans in there, kind of making it like a pep rally?
I didn't know that they didn't, and I didn't know other teams did. I'm learning right now that there was a pep rally atmosphere.
Well, there wasn't in Milwaukee, but
I didn't know that was a thing anywhere. I guess
the Phillies sold 31,000 tickets to their simulated games, and the Brewers were like, "No, we don't want to do that. We're keeping the doors shut."
I think I like it, and I'll say it because I think it is a direct reflection of our coach. I think he's a gritty. Like, you're telling me I can actually have a practice with my guys during the season, after the season. Sure. Like, let's not make this fanfare when we can actually make tangible advancements in play. Redial in fundamentals. I'm for it. Do we want to have a pep rally right now, or do we want to try to go hoist whatever the trophy is called? I don't even, the pennant. There's some sort of statue or something. I don't know. I've never seen it. So
I'm with you. I think I said this morning when we talked about it, but I was like, I don't understand the benefit for the team. Like, if things go wrong, it's kind of like training camp for the Packers, right? You're going to have a bunch of people standing around, not knowing the drills, not knowing what they're supposed to be looking for, using social media, using their phones. If something goes wrong, oh, the Brewers aren't ready. Look at this. This person missed this slide, whatever it ends up being, all negative stuff, to what? Just have fans be able to go in and go, "Let's go Brewers," at a simulated game between the Brewers and the Brewers. The juice is definitely not worth the squeeze. Yeah, from a fan perspective and a team perspective.
I think it would have been way more beneficial for the Phillies to bus in a bunch of Dodgers fans. You know what I mean? Like, simulate being at the away team. Like you've been playing in front of your own fans all year. What's the benefit of crowd noise at that point? I mean, I get it. It's honestly, it's a money grab. And maybe the Brewers should be, if Mark Antanasio would have signed a thing saying 100% of the proceeds would go towards retaining William Contreras next year, maybe I'd have a different opinion. But it's gonna go to like his soccer club and his illegal sand operations. So no, I don't care that they didn't make money off of this practice. So
no, I agree with you. But so here we are. We'll find out starters. I kind of also agree with you. I didn't love either matchup. I don't like the fact that we did play the Cubs earlier this year and that they didn't win the series total against the Cubs. I also didn't like the fact that, Craig Counsell's coming back. We said Craig fails and flops in October. Well, he did with the Cubs what he was never able to do with the Brewers. And advance. He was the guy that couldn't make it. He made it, and so.
Well, here's my counter. There's going to be more games in Milwaukee than Chicago, and Craig couldn't get a single series win in Wisconsin to save his life. So we do the math. We do the math. That's a very exciting game 5, you know? And maybe he's been a sleeper cell this whole time. Someone's going to utter a special phrase like 5-tool player, and like the Manchurian Candidate, he's going to activate and completely sell for the Brewers, you know? And he's going to do a classic like cool. NWO, you know? And then
oh my God.
Yeah.
My God.
Oh my God.
He's back. He's back on the Brewers.
Craig's back. He's not welcome back. Fuck him. But
I promise you, if he swerved this, and he did something like that after the Cubs lost and he ripped off a Cubs jersey, they would build statues.
Sure.
They would be like, I always believed in you, Craig.
Yeah. They'd build statues and stop graffitiing the ones that already exist. Yeah. They'd stop defacing the ones that already
exist. They'd have to clean those up.
Yeah, someone tells me he's not going to look a gift horse in the mouth.
No.
That gift horse being $45 million a year. But I'm just fantasy booking one of the funnier outcomes of the series. But
yeah.
It's exciting. It's one of those things I feel like also just because of the show and everything, like I've watched more baseball, like just pure innings than I might have had my entire life, even when I was working at the stadium. Just being like, I'm sitting down, I'm watching these games. And I'm just like, I'm so pleased with the regular season. And for the first time, I can really wrap my head around this idea that like, it is so hard to win a World Series in baseball. Like it is out of all the sports, it's like so hard in baseball to do it. That I want nothing but the best, but I can't feed any anxiousness I have because I'm just like, I'm just glad to be here in like, not like a sad little brother way. I just mean like, it's so cool that the Brewers are I'm watching playoff graphics and it just says Brewers won. And that's so wild and it's still wild. And so
it is, and it is very cool, and I love it as well. Trevor, the gentleman I do the show with every day, Trevor Thomas, very positive, very optimistic person. And when I was focusing on Padres Cubs, he was focusing on, reminiscing about the season and just going, man, what a great season, and drinking that in. And I was like, I hate that. I can't do that. I do that when the season's over.
Mm-hmm.
The season's not over. We're still playing more baseball. I'm not letting my mind go to the, man, what a great season this was, having all of this and doing. There's going to be time for that. I'm hoping it includes a divisional series win and a championship series win and a World Series win. Like, I'm hoping it goes further, but I'm not allowing myself to, do the, let's look back at the memories that were the 2025 Milwaukee Brewers, because we're not done yet.
Yeah, we are not
done yet.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm so pleased with the season. But what the difference between what I'd say is me and Trevor is I'm going to be so mad when Joey Ortiz strikes out and like a bases loaded.
With the bases loaded.
Like I'm not going to like see that and be like, well, at least Quentin Priester got traded and we unlocked his slider. It's like, I don't care. That is not how I feel about it. I'm just saying, like, right now, we've literally spent 35 minutes talking about just how unknown this series is, and we just won't know anything until the rosters are set, until we see them on the field. There's so much unknown that I just like that. The optimist in me is like, I'm just not going to feed what could happen until I see something happen. I have no information to go off of this specific series. So until I have any sort of inkling, I'm just going to be, I'm in a state of Zen. This is where I'm at.
I so wish I had that. My brain does the opposite of that. It analyzes and lays out every possible outcome, and then it overthinks all of them. And it just doesn't do that with sports. It does that with everything in my life. But that includes sports and the Brewers playoff series against the Cubs. And so I look at it and I go, man, it's going to be so sweet if we beat the Cubs. Man, it's going to suck so bad if we lose to the Cubs. Man, it's going to suck so bad if we lose to the Cubs in 3. Oh, it's going to suck even worse if they win in 5 at home. Oh, it's going to be awesome if we sweep, and going through all of the different possibilities and outcomes. And that's why I say I'm a realist, because it's not like I'm only thinking about I'm also thinking about how much I could love the positives. It's just, it's all there. It's all there, and I can't be zen about it because I'm feeling emotions on every single what if and what could be. And that's how I fan. And I hate it. But it's who I am.
Yeah.
You know, I'd much rather be able to just be like, can't do anything about it, brother. Let's just have fun, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to be. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm not that type of fan.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Long story short, we'll see. Yeah. But
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, so the other thing is, by the time we do our next podcast that's on the show, we will have some answers on all of this. We'll see how far the Brewers end up going, and it will be quite exciting. All right, quickly, we should talk a little bit of Packers here.
No, that's how I feel about it. No, I'm kidding. I just that's where I'm at with the discourse. Like bye week, we obviously have not looked as good the last two games than the first two games. And it's just like the bye week after these two outcomes, a tie and an embarrassing loss. It's like, it's the worst time. Everyone's already on pins and needles because of the Brewers. And now I'm hearing insane takes that maybe Matt LaFleur should be fired. And I'm just like, we're 2-1-1. It's not even that bad. This is not the ideal record, but it's not even that bad. But
no, so here's all I'm saying, because let me tell you, I love that take, and I love not going into this because I also, instead of watching Yankees and Red Sox, put on the Thursday night football game between two good teams, 2 3-1 teams. I could not have been less interested in anything that was happening in that football game. My brain is completely shut off from football right now and is so focused on the Brewers and on baseball. But the only conversation that's really taken place or existed has just been identity. What the hell is the identity of this team? It was defense until the defense gave up 40 points. It was well-rounded until the offense completely fell apart, gave up 10 points, and then came back and then gave up 40 points. And so the only thing that frustrates me about this team is that we're going into the bye week. We know that we need to get healthy, but I couldn't even tell you what I'm most worried about with this team, because I feel like when they come back and they go back out on the field, it's question marks. I have no idea what to expect. I have no idea if the offense is going to go off or if the defense is going to go off or neither of them are going to go off or if both are going to go off. No idea. I do know, the only thing I know is special teams is a problem. And if they're not using this week to fix it, what the hell are you doing?
Yep. That is the only thing that's for certain. I can give you reasons. I could happily point at reasons why I think maybe the defense took a step back, or reasons why it was a tough matchup for the defense. I can give you reasons why I think the offense, and I would say even some of the play calling, as frustrating as it was the choices that led to those. But what I can't do, and this is me foreshadowing those points with this one, I refuse to understand why Matthew Golden and Savion Williams are our punt returner and our kick returner. And I wanted to believe it's because their relative athletic score is through the charts, and then blah, 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 blah. And they give us our best opportunity, and we don't want to run Keyshawn Nixon. But when you have Matt LaFleur at the podium, just kind of answering questions and just straight up kind of just goes, yeah, I don't know. This comes with the territory. Like, they need the reps. And it's like, so they're doing 1/3 of they say it's 1/3 of the game. We're giving them to our rookies because we have to justify his gadget guys. Like, this is what's happening. Go sign an actual kick returner. Go sign a punt returner. Like, there's so much conversations about it. And then the same thing too, like with the special teams operations, like, I look at it this way. And this is more of the X's and O stuff. Like, a lot of teams will play their starters on special teams if they have to. We were playing guys who, if you count down the line with all of the injuries on the offensive line, Brent Banks or whatever his name was, he's now a Tennessee Titan, so who cares?
Yeah.
He would have been like 13th. Right. 13th. And he's, because you don't want to put an Elton Jenkins out in special teams, which fun fact, they did put him out there when the game was on the line.
Yes,
it's
they
like, because
did.
you're just deciding that like the vets don't have to do this part of the game. It's like, it's hard enough asking a backup to play your special teams. You're asking your backup to do this in big game moments, in big opportunities to set pace and tone. Like, that's the stuff I don't understand, that I find really frustrating. And you look at some of the technique, and that's not good enough. And a lot of conversations about like block field goals. Like, I think LaFleur or maybe Rich in the offseason was like, yeah, the nature of training camp is like, we're going to practice punt returns and punt blocking way more than we're going to practice like field goal stuff. And it's like, okay, well, it's awesome that you said that, because that is exactly what we see game in and game out. And we had this conversation like 2 years ago or 3 years ago with Mo Drayton, and it's like, it's been like decently better, but I just mean like, why is special teams only being addressed when it gets so bad that
Right.
it's the only talking point we can have?
Keep in mind, okay? I feel like there are 3 levels of special teams. Special teams is not as complicated as an offense or a defense. There's really 3 levels that you have to look at. Either your special teams is stacked. You have like the best punter, the best kicker, and best returner, and like you need to do more with it because they are going to give you more opportunities to score. Very few teams are at that level. Very, very few. Then there's like the 80% sandwich level. And that level is saying, we just need to not mess this up for our offense or our defense. You just need to not make it so bad that it impacts the game severely. And that's what I feel like the majority of the teams are. You kick the ball into the end zone, you stop them from getting past the 30, and you give your best shot on a field goal block, or make sure you at least get the ball in the air on your field goal. Like basic ass stuff. And then there's like the last 10%, which is you're garbage. Your team can't, you're a liability. I don't understand why the Packers have to constantly be in that range. I'm not saying they have to be in this top level where, and it's been this way since Rodgers was there, of like you have an elite offense. You don't have to have an elite special teams. We don't need to be in that top level. But why the hell can't we be in the big middle part of the sandwich?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It's funny that you're talking about it in tiers, and it truly is like you're literally describing how you would group the ranks of the teams, the 32 NFL teams. We are a bottom 10 special teams unit, and that is that bottom tier you're talking about. And when you talk about like the middle tier, it's like people that just like,
but I feel like that middle tier is bigger than the top 10 teams.
Sure, I see what you mean. Like the top, maybe like the top 4. The top 3 or 4 are significantly better than like there's that classic thing like first place is like second and third combined and ahead like that. I get that it's like compounding value at the top 3.
And then there's like 25 teams that are in the middle. And then there's 3 teams where their special team is literally a liability. Why are the Packers always in the bottom 3 teams that are making it? I'm not even saying they got to be middle of the pack. Just don't be a liability. It's awful.
Well, the issue is that it's foundational. And it goes back way longer than like Rodgers. Like you're talking about like even all the way back since like Ron Wolf. Like they definitely Ted Thompson. They just are not interested in drafting players with the idea that they will ever play special teams. They are only interested in drafting players who can play the skill positions they want, and then they backflow it right into it. And so it's like you look at like Turpin, which they were slurping Turpin all night long.
They were.
And I mean, justifiably so. He kind of won them the game with some of those returns at the end, right?
God,
but what I mean by that is like that dude weighs what? 155 pounds. Like the Packers are not drafting a small, fast guy like that. For like my entire teenage years, like I was like when Darren Sproles left the Chargers, I was like, I would love for the Packers just somebody small and fast and like let's do like a different look. And like I know Marshawn Lloyd could and should hopefully be that one day if these injuries. I mean, this is a whole separate tangent, so I'm not going to hang on it too long, but it's like 2 straight years of injuries. You're starting to go like, oh, this person might never be able to just string it together. And that's it. Because he was very exciting. But back to my point. They have a guy, the average weight of the Packers wide receiver room is like 200 plus pounds. These are not traditionally specialists, like return specialists, you know? These are not those guys. And like Keyshawn was really good at it. He's a smaller guy. You know what I mean? You start looking at like the traditional.
Keep in mind for kick return, like they changed the rules. Like you're not even allowed to have as much complex plays now. Like it's
Well, so specifically to that point, I will say, shout out Justice Mosqueda. He does like a ton of stuff, I think, on Acme Packing. He's like, he makes like a couple podcast rounds. Specifically this week, he was on a few podcasts I listened to. He used to like coach offensive line, and then he was like a scout for like the XFL. He had some like job where like offensive line play was a big part of it. And so he's like really tuned into special teams and the line play. And something that he's been saying since the offseason, and I'm sorry to pair at this point, but it's something we're talking about and he just knows it so much better than I would, is this idea that like with the new kickoff rules, they completely changed how special teams is, to your point. What they didn't do was change any of the roster configurations to actually roster these players to accommodate that. So when you look at like cut down rosters, it's like there's a lot more teams holding on to like barely good linebackers and pretty bad tight ends because they just need these bodies to play this very specific athletic but physical kickoff style. And we are seeing that compounded effect over and over on the roster in a bunch of different ways. Teams are getting squeezed in really interesting ways. So it's like even that little rule change, as fun as exciting, and I would say I think it is fun and exciting. It is frustrating that Brandon Aubrey has just cracked the code, kick it on the 1 yard line and force them to make a choice. Like that's not great, but it's just interesting how these micro changes really do have rippling effects and like compounding consequences on the entire roster. But it's not good enough. It just isn't good enough.
No.
And they're not going to fire Rich Bisaccia. They're paying him way too much money. But listen, he's like so well respected all over the league. It's like, you're going to fire this dude, and then who's going to want to come in and take this job over if you're like going to hang him out to dry? That's literally the
same thing we said with Mo Drayton. When Mo Drayton was on the team, it was, and who do you want to replace him? Middle of the season, who are you trying to replace him? Who's waiting in the wings? One of his guys? Yeah, that's not, and it's the same thing. I don't know. Yeah. It's just, I feel like when your whole job title is special teams, you are the special teams coach, and your special teams sucks. That's on you.
Yeah.
That is why it's your title. And if the team is failing, and then the heads roll, and yours is the first one.
Yeah, I mean, if LaFleur is the reason why Jenkins isn't out there on a field goal attempt block or protection because he's a starter, then that has to change. You know what I mean? Like there's culpability on both sides. If it's like a philosophy that Rich is prescribing to, then we got to change that philosophy. And if it's a thing where Matt is asking for specific things from these guys and ultimately giving final say to Rich, then that can't be the case either. There needs to be conversations, and you have to assume there will be. Like these mistakes. Yeah. So we'll see. To your defensive point originally too, because it's a bye week. We've been swimming around in these narratives for so long. So Dak Prescott might have played the best regular season game of his entire career against the Packers on Sunday night. Truthfully, he got the ball out fast. The Packers were beating the rushes. Well, he had to, and he didn't guess wrong is what I'm saying. He placed every ball like you're talking about a guy who, when you talk about 40 choices in an NFL game, he made 40 correct choices straight up. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes you just have to tip your cap. What is frustrating is offensively, it felt like we played scared. We played not to lose at times. And the foreshadowing point I wanted to say is our offensive line is so beat up, and some of this idea of versatility and like best man up, best five out there isn't working with this assembled talent currently right now. And I think it like that also really affects what I think Matt LaFleur is willing to call. You know what I mean? And I think at some point you have to line good on good and just tell some of your guys to like you have to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like this is the last episode. I can let these fly at all.
Yeah.
But point being, like it's week 4 and they're down 4 of their linemen. Like I understand why the play calls weren't as sexy as they could be. And I don't know, at the end of the game, obviously they just need to be better. Matt has to wear that, and he has time to get in Jordan's ear during a play call. He should have been not calling a play and just shouted, "Get to the line, get to the line." Like, how did we didn't get a single deep shot we got one deep shot into the end zone, and we almost had the clock run out on us. Like, that's unacceptable. But when people are going like, why does Matt LaFleur always have these crazy drives? It's like, because he's watching a game where their defensive line, who's not good, is taking our linemen's lunch money. Like, at some point, you can't just have Jordan Love hung out to dry in the attempt of like pushing the ball downfield like we have been. And there were a couple opportunities for that. I mean, we still put up, that's the other hilarious thing. We also still put up 40 points. But when you look at,
that's why the offense, you can't rag on the offense 2 weeks in a row. That's why the narrative changed from Cleveland to Dallas.
Yep.
Because it went from this offense is trash and we're relying on our defense to, okay, is this defense struggling now because the offense is back? That's where the confusion came from. Week to week, it was a complete flip.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. Goody's, this might be the first and easily the worst free agent signings. And maybe Banks and Hobbs can turn it around, but right now it's rough. I know, like, technically Nate Hobbs at one point got put out with an injury, but he was cleared and he did not come back. Mm-hmm. Carrington Valentine, maybe top 3 worst performances he had. You know what I mean? He slipped and fell on a couple of those plays. I gotta calls it like I see it. My man, Edgerrin Cooper, easily his worst game as a pro. You're talking about like over 10 missed tackles, like somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And the guys just like
do that.
And the guys just like weren't really rallying like I feel like they had been. And so, and that's part of being on the road. So that's an interesting angle about all this. But I will say, like, it's early in the season. There's enough unfortunate things that are creating really bad problems that the team needs to figure out. I'm not excusing the play, the results, the mishaps with answers. What I am saying is I'm not saying Matt LaFleur should be fired like I'm seeing some people say, because I don't know how good any coach would be when linemen 6 through 10 aren't available. Actually, linemen's, 4 through 8 aren't available. Like, we came in here after week 2, I remember saying being like, what a blessing this offensive line depth is that we could lose 2 guys, but then we lost to 2 guys for those 2 guys. And all of a sudden it's like, other teams would have been drowning after 1 or 2 injuries. We are now experiencing that same drowning because we've lost 4. And so hopefully Banks can come back and actually complete a full healthy game. I would bet good money that Tom is back. I mean, Zach Tom is our best offensive lineman. We lost our best offensive lineman. Elton Jenkins, after that ACL, he's just not the same guy. Even at the guard position, he was good. Zach Tom was supposed to be the next Elton Jenkins. And I hope for a lot more from Zach Tom, if I'm being honest, because and I think part of that is why they said we're kicking you into center, because I think this is the only way they could justify a contract to keep him. Like, he's not going to get paid guard money to play at the center position, and not the way he's been playing. Like, it just hasn't been good enough. So it's like when your line is injured and the guys who are supposed to be a boon to the line in the first place are playing bad, this is what happens, and Jordan Love, by a ton of metrics, and I'm not about to get into him at the 55-minute mark of this podcast, leads the league, especially in the NFC, in a lot of metrics. The team is doing right stuff. If we can just protect him, get some actual rushing lanes for Josh Jacobs, these games are going to start to feel easy again.
Correct.
They are. So
we just need to get there.
Yeah. When I hear people say, like, are the Packers even Super Bowl contenders? It's like the only ground I'm willing to concede is we were in the same tier as the Lions and the Eagles. The Lions showed they are still that team.
Yep.
And so it's just every win they get proves that the Packers are a part of that. If you wanted to say we are officially the best team of tier 2, which would be like the Commanders, you talk about Rams, I can't argue that point anymore. If you want to drop them down because of the way they played, so be it. I you know what I mean? I'm also a realist in that way. I'm not going to argue with you. If that's how you feel, I think they're still in tier 1. Just by given what they've been able to accomplish with where they're at, but they're not better than the Eagles and the Lions right now. Week 17 could be a very different conversation, but right now, while they're figuring stuff out, they're getting healthy, they're making adjustments. Like, we're just not as fully realized a package is my biggest takeaway from the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's just that,
I think that's fair. I think that it's also this Packer season is shaping up to have the opportunity to be a lot like the Brewers season. The start was atrocious. The way the Brewers season started, we were all very confused, worried, injury bug, a lot of similarities, and it's a long season for a reason. So you just look at it like, okay, we had an idea of what this team was. We don't really know anymore. We're just gonna have to watch week in and week out, figure it out. But we don't have to do it this week. This week they're on a bye. We get to focus on baseball. We get to focus on the Brewers. And unfortunately, the Cubs, who will be making their way. And there we go. And that's it. And so, to wrap this up, again, very, very excited that the next time we're doing this, we're going to also be doing it for radio. Don't Tell Me How to Fan is going that extra mile. I want to thank everyone that has been watching and supporting this project that John and I have been doing for the last over a year. And to just see that now it gets to continue to grow and we get to have more fun is awesome. And so, yeah, it's great. And I really appreciate everyone doing so. And I appreciate you, pal, as well.
Yeah, right back at you, champ.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening and tuning into this episode of Don't Tell Me How to Fan. Make sure to tune into the next one because we are not done yet.
That boy Bouncy.